Friends, it is fresh off the Kickstarter presses. Rebels of Ravenport.
Yes, we got this a couple of days ago in the mail, and I'm kind of excited about this one because it failed to Kickstarter the first time, and it was very, very close to its goal.
Like a couple $100, I think, even.
Yeah,
real close.
Real close, and then the creator made a couple of tweaks and lowered the price point of the game, put it back up, and it looked like it was going to fail again. Within the last 36 hours, there was kind of a rally. I think a lot of people shared it on social media and stuff like that to get this funded, and it got funded. Just barely got funded. I think it was a couple $100 above the funding goal. I'm glad it did, though. It's Secret Weapon Games. Mike Coleman. I think it's just a one-guy thing. And I like that. I like supporting small developers and stuff like that.
Right.
And overall, I like the game. The first thing I'm going to say about it is that all the information you're going to look at, if you look at the Kickstarter page for it, or even on the back of the box, it says that it's a light card drafting strategy game on the back of the box, and I don't know if I would agree with that assessment.
Not in the sense of what a drafting game is. It has definitely some, I would say, minor Winchester drafting, like in Magic, where everything for the pack or whatever is up, but you need to buy them with your reputation, which is essentially your monetary unit in the game. So, I mean, it loosely can be called drafting, but not by the standard sense of what you would think a drafting game would be.
Yes. So it cost me $25 to kick this. It is a 2 to 6 player game. It takes about 30 minutes to play. I would say that's pretty accurate time estimate after your first game once you get to know it.
Definitely.
Going to that, the rule book is pretty self-explanatory. It's not a super complicated game.
No.
It's essentially you pick which monster you want to fight, you roll some dice, then you choose what you want to buy.
Right. It's very much in the vein of like Ascension. It's got some aspects of Machikoro where you actually can acquire money on your opponent's turns.
Yes.
Which is fun because sometimes in these games you don't necessarily stay engaged when it's not your turn to do what you're going to do.
Right.
It forces you to pay attention because if someone rolls a 2 and they end up using it, you can get a reputation. If they kill a brute, you can get a reputation. If they do this, you can get a reputation. So you can definitely gain a lot of money on not your turn. So by your turn, you can buy the big card.
Right, and I do like that when games give you forced interaction on other players' turns, because people like my daughter will space off when it's not their turn, and so if they're forced to pay attention on their turn, then when it comes around to their turn, they will know it's their turn.
Correct.
So I always like that. All in all, it's a pretty simple game. It's just a game board, and
some cards and some dice.
Some cards, some punch-outs, and some dice. Yep. I'll go into components. Again, this was $25, so this is a pretty low budget production game.
And I think it shows definitely in its in the components.
Yeah.
However, with it being a cheap game, I don't think I would knock it just based on that.
No.
If a guy wants to get his game published and out there, sometimes in order to make it cheaper, you have to shave some of those spending on the components, which I understand. It doesn't take away from the game at all. And so, like, I just understand it's a lower budget game.
Right, and I would say the card quality was good.
They're a little thin, but I mean,
they had a nice finish on them.
Right.
I will say the board for the game comes in is it's like folded. It's like accordioned.
Accordion. There you go.
Versus like cut and folded.
Right.
So it takes a little while to smooth that out. But again, we're talking about a lower budget game, and so I don't want to knock it very hard on those points, because I'm okay with a low budget game having slightly lower quality components as long as the gameplay is
especially in his case where if it didn't get through Kickstarter the first time, in order to shave a few dollars here and there to make it cheaper, that you have to cut into the component quality.
Yeah.
Like, that's completely understandable, and I would never knock a game designer because of that.
Yes. I'm going to say one thing. I'm going to knock the guy for one thing, right? If you ever watch any of the videos, I talk about inserts. There's no insert in here, and that's okay. He did include some baggies, and that's fine. He also included, and he said this on his Kickstarter campaign, and I'm a former Magic player, right? And so if you've ever sat down to play at a Magic tournament and the kid across from you pulls out his Magic deck and unrubber bands it, and you cringe. Here, I think I still got one in my pocket. Oh, the board fell over.
Zap.
He included a bag of rubber bands to rubber band your cards. I would suggest not using these because rubber bands do in fact ruin your cards. There is plenty of baggies, however, to just put your cards in.
I didn't see that when you were opening.
I know.
That
Nobody
is
did.
a very, very cruel joke.
Yeah,
It
it's
makes
funny.
I love humor inside when people do things like that. Just to either it's an inside joke or just something to be kind of slapsticky and funny.
No, he mentioned in the campaign at some point that he's gonna include some rubber bands if you wanted to rubber band your decks, and I was like, oh man, I don't know if he's joking or he's serious, but
opponent walks up, pair of jeans on.
Yep. Pulls the deck out of
He's like, yo, and stands back up, reaches into his
Yep.
jeans, and like they're all white on the edges and everything. I'm like,
just and they've got it like triple, like twisted banded, so you can see it just digging in the edges, and they're just
judge.
Yep. Sets
Anyway,
that down.
back to the game.
Okay. All right. So the how you play this game, it's very simple. On your turn, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to have, when you start the game, you're going to start with some characters, fighters in front of you.
Yeah, it's referred to as your guild.
As your guild. So you've got some of your guild members, essentially. And they're going to have dice symbols on them, 1 through 6. Mm-hmm. And you're going to choose a monster to attack. And there's a couple of different levels of play that you can look at in the rule book. But we'll just kind of go over the basic level of play, which is on the board. I think there's 6 monsters,
right?
Ranging in difficulties. So you're gonna pick a monster to fight. You're gonna roll your dice, and you're essentially gonna match your dice to your guild members.
Right.
So if you roll a 1, any of your guild members that have the 1 symbol on it, those ones are going to do damage.
Right.
You roll a 3, then the 3s do damage. You roll 5, the 5s do damage.
Right. And you roll 3 dice.
You roll 3 dice.
Whatever matches up deals damage, and if it's enough damage to kill the monster, you get its reward.
Yep. Which is victory points in the form of just little punch-out guys.
Right.
And then you also get, what are those other things called?
It's called reputation.
Reputation.
It's your money.
It's your money. And then you get reputation. And then the reputation gets you, there's also a deck of cards, which I'm going to stop and just say, I guess when we talked about components, one of my big gripes that I wish that he did differently was there's 2 different types of cards. There's guild members and artifacts.
Right. And
they're different colored borders. So once you've shuffled your deck up, you can clearly see when you look at the deck from the side what's what. So I wish they would have just all had black borders or something like that. But that's a minor detail, I suppose. But there's 5 of those cards out, and you can buy those cards to add to your guild area.
Right.
And some of those are artifacts that do different things. Maybe they add to your attack total, or maybe they... some of them let you re-roll certain dice.
Yeah, you can get a bonus if someone doesn't defeat a monster.
Right.
There's a bonus that will just applies to the Overlord. If you defeat the Overlord, you win the game.
Yes. So there's a couple of ways to win the game. If you the last monster on the board has 12 health. So if you throughout the game you build up your guild and you are able to, you can choose to fight that Overlord. You choose to fight him at any time.
Right.
But if you think you can beat him, you can choose to do that. And if you roll the dice and you get enough damage through, you can just win the game right then and there. There is also a pool of victory points, and that is dependent on how many players you have in the game. We played with 6 people, and so there were 60, I believe. Mm-hmm. And once that pool is depleted completely, then you start adding up victory points.
Right.
Both of our games ended with people killing the Overlord, so we never had to add up victory points. But if you get to that point, you're going to add up all of your tokens, plus each one of your guild members and artifacts have points on them as well.
Potentially, your starting ones don't.
Yes, I guess that's true.
But the other ones, as you buy members for your guild and artifacts, they'll also give you victory points at the end of the game, should it get to that point.
Right. And so then it's just kind of like a rinse and repeat. Mm-hmm. You just go around the board and you're just trying to build your guild up as powerful as you can so that you can beat better monsters, to get more victory points, get more reputation, to buy better guys to put in your guild. Mm-hmm. And you go around. And I guess in some way you could almost... I still can't get to the drafting part of that, because those five, you have a deck of stuff. Every time something comes off out of the middle, you put a new one on.
Right, and that's much like the Ascension mechanic.
Yeah.
There's a Harry Potter version game like that. There's a lot of games like that. I refer to it as Ascension. That was my gateway into a game like this. So,
yeah, I don't know.
Like I said, it's not by your true basis of a definition a drafting game. Obviously both of us coming as Magic players.
Right.
Drafting definitely means something specific.
Correct. And I'll say when I kickstarted this, the word drafting is what got me.
Typically,
got me to look at it.
When we're browsing games and looking for games to play, we definitely look for games that involve drafting.
And I probably, if I actually read the description before I backed it,
right.
I probably would have figured that out. But I don't do that because
snap back.
I snap back. I just 1 to 6 players, $25. Click.
Yep.
Why not?
Yep.
I think I did 31 because it was $6 shipping.
But still.
But, I mean, overall, like I said, for what you pay for the game, I think the components are good. Good enough. I like the gameplay on it. Mm-hmm. I can't... cons, like I said, I wish that the cards had all the same colors. Do you have anything as far as cons?
I have the other con that I have about the game is, not only with the board being the kind of weird accordion board that doesn't necessarily lay very flat anyway,
right.
But in the games where you're setting up the people for the guild decks to buy, you put the deck here on the first empty spot where it has the cards.
Oh, I know.
And then you fill the other 5, which I guess is fine. Mm-hmm. However, in the different advanced versions of the game, you put monsters over top for the monsters in the middle, yes. But then your deck's off to the side.
Yeah, or up top or whatever.
Yeah, we had it up top, and it just... I like uniformity in games like this. I would want my guild deck off to the side and my monster deck off to the side, just so it's all in the same spot. That's just kind of...
I can see what you're saying here.
Small, I guess, a nomenclature as far as the board goes. It's a double-sided board. I don't really think there's a difference between the two. We kind of investigated it and didn't see anything right offhand in those regards.
I'm not seeing anything different.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think there is a difference.
I mean, you guys can feel free to comment if you've played the game or you have the game and you've seen something different, but... I don't actually see a difference between the 2 different sides of the board here.
Right. The other thing I didn't really like about the game is when you play with a monster deck, when you're not playing just the basic version of the game, the cards for the monster deck are 2-sided. One side is supposed to be the intermediate version, one side is supposed to be the advanced version. The advanced version definitely adds another rule that something happens if you defeat the monster, something happens if you fail to defeat the monster. One or the other.
Sure.
Adds a little extra thing to it. And the levels of victory points and reputation change on each one. But the backside, it's all the same. And it tells you what the card is. So there's no way you can have a hidden deck. So you also have a card that it's the Tome of Intelligence, I think, that you can use once per turn to get rid of something on the board to get a new card.
And everybody starts with one of those.
Right. So, it's just...
You know what's coming.
You know what's coming, so you can get rid of something to get it, whereas on the guild deck, you don't know what's coming. So if there's a card that I know, Froese's going next, I can't buy it this turn, I'm going to put it in the discard pile, but I don't know what I'm going to flip up. You know exactly what's coming up.
That's true, yeah.
And I didn't necessarily like that aspect of the game. I know if you were to have 2 sets of cards, I get it. However, the way I would have personally done it is have a standard back, and then if you're doing intermediate... Then you just ignore the text, and then have various.
I think that would have been cheaper in the end too, because you wouldn't have to do. Because this is essentially a full art card in the back. I will say, while we're talking about that, is I like the art.
I enjoy the art. It's a little on the cartoony side. Yeah. I will say, it feels like the art on the monsters are more detailed than the guild.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I would definitely say that.
I don't know if it's the same person. Is there a list of who the artist is?
I think it says in here, artwork by Vaughn Avis.
As this. I'm sure I'm butchering that, and I apologize. Oh, there's variations to the game too.
Oh, variant rules.
Yeah.
Variant action points. Shy monsters. Discard the attack monster even if it's not defeated.
Oh,
so they can run away. So I mean that's kind of cool. There's different ways to play.
So there's enough here to definitely have some replay value. I'm not gonna want to play this every single weekend.
No.
However, sometimes you just need that light game night where you just want to play some games and enjoy and socialize, and I think this definitely falls in that realm perfectly.
Yeah, I liked it enough, and it delivered pretty quick.
It actually didn't.
Let me see when I backed it really quick. Estimated delivery was August, so it
came early.
See, it funded April 13th.
So it's really only been a few months. So
So I always like that too. I always appreciate that. There was no string along. He gave good updates. I would definitely say if he put another Kickstarter up, I would definitely take a look at it.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
So, what would you say rating-wise?
You know, not taking quality of the components into account just because it was obviously a lower budget game, I definitely would rate it a lumberjack rating, which is a 5 out of 7.
I would say the same thing. I would say lumberjack because I liked it.
I
had fun with it. It was easy to learn, and that says something too.
Our kids could easily play this game. I know I think it said 10 plus.
Yeah.
My 8-year-old daughter could easily pick this game up and play it.
Yeah, and you know it's kind of refreshing because I think we probably say it a lot when we're talking about games that when we're learning a game, there's a sense of overwhelming dread, and you're trying to figure stuff out, and it's just insane. And then you start playing, and then it gets okay, and then you finally get into that groove. Right. I can tell you there was none of that with this. Like I just kind of understood how things worked. And it's nice to have a simpler game that's just not so, like, heavy. And it's definitely a light game. But it's fun. I mean, I'm glad I got it. And
you know, this is the first time I actually flipped through even the rule book. It's not super wordy. It's straight and to the point.
Yeah.
And I think describes the game very well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like all the variant modes. There's even more than I saw in the first place. So.
Mm-hmm. I think this game designer should be very proud of this game, and I'm happy that I was able to fund and give us a chance to play it. Definitely a solid game.
Yes. Thanks for watching the videos, guys. Go ahead and check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And I can't say that with a straight face. Go ahead and like our videos, even if you didn't like them. I don't care if you liked it or not. Just hit that button.
Hit a button.
And then hit subscribe.
Please do.
Please. One of these days, we might give something away.
Kind of sound like Bill Shatner now. One of these days,
we
might give something
away
on
the plane. Take it easy, guys.